Hello everyone. Welcome to the very first episode on Walkthrough with Bhagavad Gita by Shipra Uppal. This episode is dedicated towards introducing Bhagavad Gita and the importance of its essence in our lives. And I will also present the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in the second part of this episode. So let us begin with our understanding on what is Bhagavad Gita. We have often heard different messages about Bhagavad Gita. Different people present different perceptions of their understanding on Bhagavad Gita. I shall too try to present my understanding on what is the essence of Bhagavad Gita in the next few minutes in this podcast. When we spend a lot of time on social media, say for an hour, despite the fact that we wanted to have a sense of enjoyment, we notice that we don't feel as good as before we started. Our mental peace reduces a bit after spending an hour on it, isn't it? Similarly, every single time we run after anything that the mind is attracted to or the mind wants us to indulge in, we may be getting a short-term satisfaction, but in the long run, we are doing it at the cost of our mental peace only. Bhagavad Gita, in its essence, is simply presenting us with few answers about how to go the other way round, how to gradually live our life so that the baseline of mental peace keep going up. As it is captured beautifully in shloka number 71 of chapter 2, it says, Vihaya kamanyah sarvanaha pumanshah charati nihasprihaha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashanti madhigachyati. This shloka says, the more you are able to bring control over the mind, the more you will feel liberated. You will not get pulled towards its desires, and you will remain in peace. This verse teaches us to renounce all our attachments. वो कहते हैं ना, कामनाओं से मुक्ति पा लीजिए. दुनिया में रहते हुए भी दुनियादारी में मत फंसिए. कामयाब वही होता है जो परेशान हुए बिना अपनी धुन में अपने काम में लगा रहता है. So friends, what are the ways in which Bhagavad Gita's recommendations can be followed so that we can attain peace in our lives? Bhagavad Gita talks about three pathways of attaining peace in our lives. The first pathway is called the Jnana Marga. It is the path where we dedicate each moment and remain more conscious of whether we are following the mind and getting attracted to its desires, or are we practicing detachment. Gautam Buddha followed the path of Jnana Marga. When he sat for meditation, and when every time his mind was getting deviated from the focus, he kept pulling it back. We see people doing mala japa or dhyan sadhana are essentially trying to do this only. They are practicing detachment. They are focusing their mind on one name, on one mantra, on one deity. And every time or any time their mind gets distracted, they try to pull it back by not focusing on the thoughts. The more we are practicing the detachment, the more we are gaining control over the mind, which in turn leads to more peaceful situation in our lives. The second path that Bhagavad Gita recommends is Karam Yoga. In the Karam Yoga, we identify our duties and our responsibilities pertaining to different relations and roles in our lives. In a way, we lay down our daily or weekly purposes and tasks. Then, irrespective of whether we want to do it, we are interested or our mind really take interest in doing it, or mind or mana says, I desire to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't feel like doing this, we keep bringing our mind back to our duties and purposes that we have identified for ourselves and not getting distracted by the desires. Bhishma Pitama is the classic example of somebody who followed the Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is purely represented in shloka number 38 of chapter 2. It says, Sukha dukhe same kritvaha labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasvaha naivam papam avasyasi. This means, irrespective of whether our mind is getting joy or sorrow, we need not listen to it. We only remain dedicated to our duties and keep bringing the mind back to our duties, back to our karma, and we remain detached from sukha, dukkha, labha, hani. As you can recognize it from the very popular song of, I believe, from 1980s or early 90s, it says, मैं जिंदगी का साथ निभाता चला गया, हर फिक्र को धुएं में उड़ाता चला गया. So it says, गम और खुशी में फ़र्क ना महसूस हो जहाँ, मैं खुद को उस मकाम पे लाता गया. That means your mind remain detached from गम और खुशी, सुख दुख, लाभ हानि, etc. The third path which the Bhagavad Gita recommend is called Bhakti Yoga, that is the path of devotion, the path chosen by Meera. The reason we feel extremely attracted to social media or the food or the fashion is because we have a sense of duality between us and the perspective field, be it food or fashion. However, if we see the food as the integral part of us only, or if we see beauty, that is something very natural, that is something which is coming from within, then we will no longer feel allured or attracted towards the food or towards the beauty. In fact, shloka number 7 from chapter 15 says, Shri Bhagavanuvāca māmaivansho jivaloke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manaha sasthani indrani prakriti sthani karshate. यहाँ श्री कृष्ण कहते हैं कि प्रकृति में जब ईश्वर का अंश मिलता है तो हम सब प्राणी बन जाते हैं. इसी बात को समझाते हुए श्री कृष्ण कहते हैं कि संसार में प्रत्येक शरीर में स्थित जीवात्मा मेरा ही तो अंश है. Whatever is the living entity, जो भी जीवित प्राणी है, उन सब में कृष्ण का ही अंश है. That is why we see that God is residing in all of us, in between all the entities. This shloka is dedicated to the idea that when we start seeing God as an element residing inside all of us and in everything around us, then we start seeing the part of us as a reflection in every being. That means we lose the sense of duality and we develop the equivision for everything and everyone. That is why Bhakti Yoga is another method to bring the mind back to control, so that our mind does not find any element to chase after or to run after or to copy or try to become somebody else. So all these three paths, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, are the pathways, recommendations from Bhagavad Gita to complete the ultimate purpose of our life, which is to keep growing in peace while doing our karma and keep doing it until our mind is absolutely under our control. So the formula for Bhagavad Gita says, controlled senses lead to controlled mind, and controlled mind lead to stabilized intellect, and stabilized intellect lead to the completion of yoga, which lead to salvation, that is merging into God. Shloka number 37 from chapter 18 justifies this. It says, Yatadagre vishamevaha pariname mritupamam tat sukham satvikam proktam atma buddhir prasadijam. This means Shri Krishna is trying to define the happiness and its elements. Like as we say, अगर मैं कहूँ कि जब हम छोटे थे तो सारे बच्चों को पढ़ना लिखना पसंद नहीं होता, सब लोगों का पढ़ाई में मन नहीं लगता, लेकिन बड़े होने के बाद यही पढ़ाई हमें एक कामयाब इंसान बनाने के लिए बेस का आधार का काम करती है। इसी तरीके से सांसारिक मोह माया में फंसे हुए पुरुष जो परमात्मा के भजन और उनके ध्यान सेवा अभ्यास शुरू में उनको बोरिंग लगता है, दे गेट बोर्ड बाय ऑल दीज थिंग्स, लेकिन बाद में यही स्पिरिचुअलिटी, यही परमात्मा का ध्यान, यही कंसंट्रेशन जिसे हम योग कहते हैं, अमृत हो जाता है. And this works as a base. This works as a very baseline to start your path in spirituality. This shloka says there are a lot of things which taste poison at the first time. For example, when we are eating gooseberry, amla, it tastes bitter at first and then sour afterwards. And after a while, when we drink some water, it tastes sweet. Similarly, the whole activity of trying to control our mind looks very difficult in the beginning, but later on we always understand its importance, that it was very necessary to go through that bitterness, to experience the sweetness, to experience the nectar. As we practice doing one or following either of the three pathways, you will gradually start tasting the amrit or the nectar hidden in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita that will help us to lead a more peaceful life with a very controlled mind. If you are wondering where to start or how to start, then listen to the shloka number 40 from chapter 4. It says, Agnyaschaha shraddhanaschaha sanshahayatma vinashyatihi nayam loko sthinaparoho na sukham sanshayatmanaha. This shloka says that if you keep doubting everyone and everything around you, then it is the beginning of your downfall. You may look back at any point to start anywhere. When we say meditation in the morning and karma during the day, and then you're thinking consciously of God in everything what you do, it is the point where you will be following the essence of Bhagavad Gita, and from this point you will be living a life filled with happiness and peace. Now I am presenting a basic difference between Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are the two of the most important texts in Hinduism. The Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata, while Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the 18 Puranas of Hinduism. Bhagavad Gita is essentially a philosophical teachings of Lord Krishna delivered as a lecture to Arjuna just before the Kurukshetra war to begin, and it is a part of Mahabharata. Mahabharata is a book authored by Maharishi Vedvyasa, but Bhagavad Gita is in and out a book of spiritual teachings, but it is not a storybook. It predominantly teaches Karma Yoga and also covers Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Bhagavad Gita contains the essence of the teachings of Upanishad in a very simplified way. Now let us understand what is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is a grand collection of Puranas and spiritual stories with lot of philosophical teachings. It contains the story of Sri Bhagavan Vishnu's 24 avatars and the story of several great devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam is considered as the greatest of all the Puranas because it contains all the three shades of Hindu philosophy, that is Advaita, Vishit Advaita and Dvaita. And in its stories and discourses, dialogues, prayers and parables, the life story of Lord Krishna occupies a predominant position in this Purana. Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the Purana that can be said to bridge a gap between Bhakti, that is devotion, and Jnana, that is knowledge, in a very wonderful manner. Srimad Bhagavatam, or the Bhagavad Purana, is the fifth major Purana among the 18 Puranas, with 12 different parts, skandhas, and around 18,000 verses. It is considered to be the essence of all the Vedas. The Vedas are compared to a desire tree because all kind of knowledge that one may desire are available on them. It should be noted that there are many schools of thought and perspective when it comes to the understanding of Bhagavad Gita, and the information presented here in this podcast nearly scratches the surface of the topic. This podcast presents the microscopic fragment of the broader knowledge of this great epic. Connect with me to get the deeper insight on how the shlokas perfectly resonates with the current situations in our lives and how we can apply the teachings of Bhagavad Gita to transform ourselves. The first few people can book a free session on the critical aspect of Bhagavad Gita for a very long-term success. शेयर कीजिए अपने experiences, अपनी growth मेरे साथ on Walkthrough with Bhagavad Gita by Shipra Uppal. I can be reached at shiprahealings@gmail.com. Thank you so much. No one's life is perfect. We are all born to experience the imperfections and sufferings. But imperfections and sufferings are all about learning, no? How would I evolve if I don't suffer? How would I enhance my understanding on life if I don't suffer? How would I educate myself if my imperfections don't bother me? Imagine a life where everything is fair. Then what's the learning? Imagine a life where I get what I want. Then where is the evolution? Why should I work hard when everything just go my way? Well, growth is a consequence of going against the gravity, and going against the gravity invites sufferings. Is there a formula of utilizing the perspective of pain to grow? Like we say, pain is inevitable but suffering is optional? Yes, there is. And the formula lies in Bhagavad Gita. Well, there are books and scriptures that talks about the pain and offers some solution too. Because every book has detail. But Bhagavad Gita has principles. And these principles can be subjectively applied in every individual life context, in every age. To me, Bhagavad Gita has been my guiding force, as what happens to us as our life experiences is inevitable, but how we respond to it is our choice.
Namaskar, I am Shipra Uppal. I am an NLP coach and practitioner, a chakra healer, a voiceover artist, a leadership coach, and the founder of SARATHI Voices, Visuals and Spirituality. Apart from being an entrepreneur, I am also a soft skill trainer, an author, a researcher, a corporate event management, and a preacher of Bhagavad Gita too. At SARATHI, I conduct NLP sessions blended with spirituality and help people to connect with the supreme element and observe an upliftment in every aspect of their lives. I shall be speaking on this platform. आइए बातों बातों में सारथी के साथ भागवत गीता के आध्यात्म के सार को साझा करें ऑन भागवत गीता, a walk through for life with Shipra Uppal.